Ladies and gentlemen, every morning brings us two choices, either to let yesterday define us, or to rise, with the hope that today can be different. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, it is about learning to dance in the rain. So many of us carry heavy burdens, regrets, disappointments, fears, and we let them whisper lies into our minds. But imagine if we flip the script. What if instead of listening to those old echoes of doubt, we started speaking to ourselves with intention, with purpose? What if every single day we fed our minds the kind of words that build us rather than break us? Because here's the truth. You become what you believe. Not what others think about you, not what happened in your past, but what you choose to believe again and again in the silence of your own heart. So let us begin to speak life to ourselves. Let us promise to remind our soul of 9 things every single day. Not just when we feel good, but especially when we do not. And here is the first one. I am enough. There is a world out there constantly trying to convince you that you are not, that you are missing something. Beauty, talent, money, power, success, the right body, the perfect life. And if you keep chasing every one of those things to feel complete, you will never arrive. Because the goalposts keep shifting. One day it is this trend. Tomorrow it will be something else. But the moment you look in the mirror and say, I am enough, you stop running that race. Now saying I am enough does not mean you are perfect. It does not mean you do not have flaws or bad days. It simply means you recognize that your worth is not up for debate, that your existence is not something to be earned, that you, just as you are, with your laughter, your scars, your strength, your softness, are worthy of love, respect, and joy. There are people who will try to define you by your past. Do not let them. There are moments that will try to break your spirit. Do not give them the power. Instead, say it out loud, even if your voice shakes. I am enough. Because you were not born to prove anything to anyone. You were born to live, to learn, to grow, to fall and rise again, and still be whole. Tell this to yourself when you wake up and your heart feels heavy. Tell it when you fail at something and the shame tries to creep in. Tell it when someone overlooks you or belittles you. That is their story, not your truth. The world will always have opinions, but your voice, the one you use inside your mind, that is the loudest. And if that voice starts with I am not good enough, your spirit will dim. But if it begins with I am enough, you give yourself permission to breathe, to try, to heal, and to hope. You do not need more filters, more followers, or more perfection. You need more honesty with yourself. You need more grace, and it starts here, with a simple sentence that feels small, but is everything. I am enough. Say it, write it, live it, let it be your beginning every day. And when the world gets loud, let this be louder. Third thing is, I choose progress over perfection. It sounds simple, but it can change your entire life. So many people are paralyzed, not because they are incapable, but because they are chasing something that does not even exist. Perfection. The perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of themselves. And in this endless chase, they end up doing nothing. They wait, they stall, they overthink, and they miss out on growth that only comes through doing. Choosing progress means choosing to start. Even if the beginning is small or messy, it means showing up. Even when everything is not in place, it means trying again. Not because you have everything figured out, but because you believe every step forward matters. Perfection whispers that if you are not the best, you should not even try. But progress says, be brave enough to be bad at something before you get good at it. Perfection is a loud critic. It will shout at you when your voice shakes, when your hands tremble, when your work is imperfect. But progress is a gentle friend. It celebrates the effort. It claps for the courage. It reminds you that even a tiny step forward is still movement. Every artist, every writer, every speaker, every successful person you look up to, they started with shaky hands. They started with drafts they would never show anyone. They started where you are. What made them grow was not being perfect. It was being consistent. It was being willing to fail forward. When you hold yourself to an impossible standard, you rob yourself of joy. You stop enjoying the process. You turn everything into pressure, and pressure kills passion. But when you focus on progress, suddenly the journey becomes exciting. You start noticing how much you have improved, instead of how far you still have to go. You start giving yourself permission to make mistakes, to experiment, to fall and rise again. Perfectionism is not a badge of honor. It is a mask for fear. The fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of not being enough. But the truth is, nobody is perfect, not one person, and those who pretend to be are hiding behind filters and carefully curated images. Real growth is raw. It is not always pretty. It is messy, awkward, and beautiful in its own way. When you choose progress, you focus on the direction, not the speed. You understand that slow steps forward are still steps. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. You begin to trust your own rhythm. And when setbacks happen, because they will, you do not see them as signs to quit, but as part of the climb. You may have days where everything feels like it is falling apart. Days where nothing goes as planned. But even then, if you learn something new, if you show up anyway, if you take one small action, that is progress. That is worth celebrating. Choosing progress also means being kind to yourself. It means acknowledging your efforts. It means saying, I did what I could today, and that is enough. The more you practice this mindset, the freer you become. You stop living for approval. You start living for growth. You give yourself space to evolve. And in that space, amazing things begin to bloom. You build resilience. You gain confidence. You realize that every day holds a chance to become a better version of yourself. Not a perfect one, but a growing one. That is where the power lies. Not in flawlessness, but in forward motion. The fourth thing is, it is okay to rest, not quit. This one sentence can save dreams, mend hearts, and protect the soul from burning out. We live in a world that glorifies hustle, that celebrates constant movement, that links our worth to how productive we are. But the truth is, we are not machines. We are human beings with limits, with emotions, with breaking points. And pretending we can keep going without pause is not strength. It is denial. There comes a time when your body speaks through fatigue and your mind speaks through silence. When the same task that once excited you now feels like a burden. When the energy that used to flow now feels stuck. These are not signs of weakness. These are signs of being human. Rest is not a setback. It is not a waste of time. It is a powerful pause that allows you to gather strength, regain clarity, and breathe again. But most people fear resting because they confuse it with quitting. They think if they slow down, they are falling behind. They believe the world will move on without them, that someone else will take their place, that they will lose their momentum. But the truth is, rest is a strategy, not surrender. Even the strongest runners stop to hydrate. Even the brightest stars need the dark to shine. There is no shame in saying, I need a break. Whether it is from a job, a relationship, a routine, or even your own expectations, it is okay to pause. Because when you keep pushing through exhaustion, what you create is not excellence. It is survival. You do not grow in that space. You survive. You function on autopilot. You stop feeling. you stop enjoying, and slowly you start disconnecting from your own purpose. Choosing to rest is an act of self-respect. It is the decision to say, my health, my peace, my balance matters. It is refusing to burn out for the sake of approval. It is stepping away, not to run from the goal, but to return to it stronger, more focused, more alive. Rest allows your ideas to breathe. It gives your creativity time to recharge. It helps you reconnect with what you truly want. There is power in quiet. There is healing in stillness. Sometimes you do not need a new plan. You just need to stop and listen to your own heart. Sometimes clarity comes not from pushing harder, but from stepping back. The moment you rest, you make space for perspective. You begin to see things not through the lens of urgency, but through the lens of truth. People may not understand your need for rest. They may question your pace, your silence, your pause, but they do not walk in your shoes. They do not carry your weight. Only you know what you need, and if what you need is to pause, then honor that need. Trust that rest is not the end of the journey. It is a sacred part of it. You are allowed to stop and catch your breath. You are allowed to unplug. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to take a day off without guilt. You are allowed to do nothing, and let that be enough. Because doing nothing is sometimes doing everything for your soul. The road is long. The climb is steep. There will be many moments when you feel like giving up. But before you do, ask yourself, am I truly ready to quit? Or am I just tired? And if the answer is that you are tired, then rest. Lay your burdens down for a moment. Breathe. You owe it to yourself to keep going, but not at the cost of losing yourself along the way. Fifth thing is, I cannot control everything, but I can control my response. This is the kind of reminder that quietly transforms the way you move through the world. Life is full of moments that catch you off guard. People let you down, plans fall apart, opportunities slip through your fingers. You can do everything right, and still, things can go wrong. It is frustrating, it is exhausting, and at times it feels unfair. But the truth is, no matter how hard you try, you cannot control every twist and turn. You cannot predict how people will behave. You cannot stop storms from coming. But what you can control is how you respond to them. It is in that response, that little pause between what happens and what you do next, where your power lives. You can choose to react with panic, with anger, with blame, or you can choose to respond with grace, with thought, with calm. That decision changes everything. It does not change the problem, but it changes you in the face of the problem. And sometimes that is more important. When someone is rude to you, your old instinct might be to snap back, to mirror their energy. But responding with maturity means saying, I do not have to lower myself to their level. When plans fail, you can either curse the sky or take a breath and ask, what can I learn from this? Control is not about micromanaging the world around you. It is about managing yourself, your emotions, your reactions. Letting go of the illusion of control is hard. We all want things to go our way. We want security, certainty, a plan that works. But life rarely gives us that. Instead, it gives us moments that test us, stretch us, shake us, and in those moments you find out who you really are. You find out how much strength you hold, not by avoiding the chaos, but by facing it with courage. Your response is your responsibility. You cannot always choose the situation, but you can choose your attitude. You can choose to stay kind even in bitterness. You can choose to stay focused even in confusion. You can choose to be hopeful even in disappointment. That choice does not come naturally. It takes awareness. It takes practice. It takes reminding yourself again and again. This may be out of my hands, but how I carry myself is still mine. There is peace in acceptance. When you stop fighting what you cannot change, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. You learn to adapt instead of control. You learn to let go of what weighs you down. You learn to protect your energy from being drained by things you have no power over. The world will throw challenges your way. That is guaranteed. What is not guaranteed is how those challenges will shape you. You could let them harden you, or you could let them refine you. You could let them make you bitter, or you could let them make you wiser. It all comes down to how you respond. You might feel overwhelmed right now. Maybe something has happened that shook your trust, that shattered your routine, that made you question everything. Take a step back. Breathe. Remind yourself that even if the storm is raging outside, you can choose what kind of calm you carry inside. Your response is not just a reaction, it is your legacy. It is what people will remember. It is what your future self will thank you for. Control what you can. Let go of what you cannot. And in between, choose the kind of person you want to be through it all. Sixth thing is what I give attention to grows. This one truth quietly governs your entire life. Whether you realize it or not, your mind is a garden, and every thought, every focus, every emotion is a seed. What you water will flourish. What you neglect will fade. It sounds poetic, but it is deeply practical, because every day, without thinking, you are feeding something, either your doubts or your dreams, your fears or your faith, your problems or your possibilities. When you constantly focus on what is missing, what is broken, what is wrong, then your world starts to shrink. You start seeing life through a lens of lack. Everything feels heavy, hopeless, frustrating. But when you begin to shift your attention, even slightly, toward what is working, what is beautiful, what is still possible, then life starts to open up. Your focus becomes your filter, and that filter decides how you experience the world. If you spend all your time thinking about what went wrong, you will miss what is going right. If you obsess over people who do not support you, you will overlook those who quietly stand by your side. If you keep replaying the mistakes, the rejections, the regrets, then those memories will keep growing roots in your mind until they crowd out everything else. But here's the thing, your attention is your power. You get to choose where it goes. You get to decide what you magnify. That does not mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine when it is not. It means being intentional about what you dwell on. Because whatever you feed becomes stronger. The same goes for your inner thoughts. If you keep telling yourself, I am not good enough, that belief will grow. If you keep saying this will never work, then you will start finding proof for that everywhere. But if you start saying, I am learning, I am growing, I am trying, then those thoughts will begin to shape how you walk, how you speak, how you rise. Energy flows where attention goes. So if you are constantly feeding fear, do not be surprised if it grows louder. If you are always focused on what could go wrong, do not be shocked when you hesitate to try anything. But if you begin to feed courage, to water hope, to focus on progress, even the small kind, you will see change. Not overnight, but surely. This applies to relationships too. What you give energy to grows. If you focus on people who drain you, you will feel empty. If you pour into connections that are one-sided, you will feel exhausted. But when you choose to nurture relationships that are genuine, respectful, kind, those bonds strengthen. When you focus on gratitude instead of complaints, your heart softens. When you pay attention to your mental health, instead of numbing it, you begin to heal. The mind is not your enemy. It is your mirror. Whatever you give it, it multiplies. That is why a small shift in focus can lead to a massive shift in life. Choosing to notice the good, even when it is buried under stress and struggle, is not naivety. It is strength. It is wisdom. It is choosing not to let negativity set the tone for your story. Every day ask yourself, what am I feeding? What am I watering with my thoughts, my time, my energy? Is it building me or breaking me? Is it leading me closer to the life I want or further from it? Because in the end, your attention is not just about what you see, it is about what you become. Seventh thing is every day is a fresh start. No matter what happened yesterday, no matter how many mistakes were made, how many tears were shed, or how much time felt wasted, the moment you open your eyes in the morning, you are gifted with a brand new beginning. And that is not something small or ordinary. It is a quiet miracle we often overlook. Because in a world that constantly reminds you of your past, it takes strength to say today is a new page, and I get to decide what I write on it. You do not need anyone's permission to begin again. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not even need to have everything figured out. All you need is the willingness to try again, to rise again, to hope again, even if your heart still feels heavy. Life does not demand perfection from you. It only asks that you keep going. Sometimes the hardest part is not the work itself, but forgiving yourself enough to allow the restart. We hold on to shame like it is some form of punishment we deserve. We replay what we should have said, should have done, should have avoided. But that kind of thinking only traps you in yesterday, and yesterday is gone. The only place you can ever create change is now, and now is always available. People will remind you of who you used to be. They might say you always give up, or you never finish what you start. But they do not see the quiet battles you are fighting. They do not see the courage it takes to simply get out of bed and try again. They do not know how many times you've already chosen to keep going, even when it would have been easier to quit. You are not obligated to be who you were yesterday. You are allowed to change, to grow, to begin again, even if you've had to do it 100 times before. There will be days when the weight of regret makes you feel stuck, when the memories of what went wrong whisper that you are not worthy of another chance. But those thoughts are not facts. They are echoes, and echoes fade when you stop listening. What you do today matters more than what you did wrong yesterday. The decision you make in this moment holds more power than any past you are trying to outrun. The beauty of each morning is that it asks nothing of you. It does not care how far you fell or how long you stayed down. It simply shows up like a blank canvas, saying paint what you want, be who you want, try once more. You do not need a huge plan. You do not need to make a dramatic change overnight. All you need is one honest step forward, then another, and before you know it, you are moving. You are healing. You are rewriting the story. When things feel overwhelming, remind yourself that you are not stuck with yesterday's version of you. You are not frozen in the same mistakes, the same fears, the same cycles. Each sunrise carries a silent message. You are still here. That means there is still time. Time to try again, to love better, to speak kinder, to walk away from what is hurting you, to lean into what gives you peace. There is something powerful about a person who keeps starting over. Not because they failed, but because they are brave enough to keep choosing growth over comfort. Who you were does not limit who you can become. The story is still being written, and you are holding the pen. Eighth thing is, I am allowed to outgrow people and places. It sounds simple, but it carries weight that can either set you free or keep you stuck. We are taught to stay loyal, to hold on, to keep things the way they were. We grow up thinking that changing friendships, leaving behind familiar spaces, or walking away from certain bonds is somehow a betrayal. But growth is not betrayal. Growth is a natural part of life. Just like trees shed old leaves to make room for new ones, we too must sometimes let go to step into who we are becoming. There will be people you once laughed with who no longer make you feel understood. Places that once gave you comfort might now feel suffocating. Dreams that once lit a fire in you might no longer spark anything. And that does not make you ungrateful or selfish. That makes you human. Because as you evolve, your needs, your values, your desires, they evolve too. And holding on to what no longer fits does not preserve your peace, it disturbs it. Sometimes you will try to shrink yourself to keep a relationship alive. You will bite your tongue, play small, stay quiet, just to keep things comfortable for others. But comfort at the cost of your authenticity is too high a price. If you have to dim your light to stay in someone's life, then that place is not meant for your full self. And you deserve to live as your full self, not the version that fits their mold. The real you, with your growth, your new boundaries, your deeper wisdom. Letting go is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet and heavy. You start replying less, showing up less, connecting less, not because you are bitter, but because your spirit no longer aligns with that environment. And that is okay. You are not responsible for staying the same to make others comfortable. You are responsible for listening to your soul when it whispers, "This is not where I belong anymore." Growth will cost you relationships. It will cost you comfort zones. It might even cost you who you thought you were. But what you gain in return is something far more powerful. Alignment. A sense of clarity. A new chapter that reflects who you truly are. And you will never find that if you keep watering dead plants, hoping they will bloom again. It takes courage to walk away from people who once felt like home. It takes strength to leave a space that holds so many memories. But not every chapter is meant to last forever. Some were just meant to teach you, guide you, or prepare you. And once that lesson is learned, clinging to it will only cause pain. You can love people and still choose to move forward without them. You can appreciate a place and still realize you have outgrown it. You do not need a dramatic reason to move on. Sometimes you simply feel a shift in your spirit, and that is reason enough. You are allowed to seek out spaces where you feel inspired, relationships where you feel supported, and paths that reflect your current truth. You are allowed to change, and you are allowed to choose yourself in that change. Some people will not understand your evolution, and that is fine. They are not meant to walk with you into every season. What matters most is that you keep walking, that you keep growing, that you honor your journey, even when it takes you away from what once felt familiar. Growth is not always easy, but it is always worth it when you know deep down that you are becoming more of who you are meant to be.
Looking through the window of a crowded train, faces blurred like memories in the rain. Searching for a moment I can claim. Life keeps moving, never quite the same. Whispers of the past echo in my ear, silent words that only I can hear. Time's a river swiftly flowing near. Each new day brings both hope and fear. Lost in thoughts that come and go, wondering where they all will flow. Dreams and doubts in quiet show. In this journey we all grow. Raindrops tapping gently on the glass. Moments fade, no matter how we grasp. In the silence of the days that pass, we find truth in questions we still ask. Lost in thoughts that come and go, wondering where they all will flow. Dreams and doubts in quiet show. In this journey we all grow. Eyes closed tight to see inside a world where secrets like to hide. Truths emerge from where they bide, in the heart where feelings ride. The train moves on through night and day, carrying dreams along the way. Each window frames a fleeting play, a story lived then swept away.